Dahl. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I was just reading the book by tonight's keynote speaker, Nicole Phillips. It's a great read and I can't wait for you all to meet her. I'm Jen Bender with Prairie Lakes Healthcare System and I will be your MC tonight. Prairie Lakes and the Watertown Area Breast Cancer Support Group is proud to bring you tonight's event here virtually on Facebook and YouTube. 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. So tonight is all for us, for empowering each other and celebrating our lives. So if you feel compelled, please feel free to share this video right now with all of your accounts on Facebook or with your friends via YouTube. Start a watch party, because tonight is for us. So during this live broadcast, you'll hear from various women representing Prairie Lakes and the Watertown Area Breast Cancer Support Group. And first, you'll hear from Kalita Remmers, one of the founders of the support group. Welcome, Kalita.
Thanks, Jen. Well, I was asked to talk a little bit about how we started our support group, and we have been formed since 2005. And when I was first diagnosed in 2004, I had lots of questions. And you know, the doctors can answer anything they want, but if you have someone who's walked with you, it makes a bigger difference. So my friend introduced me to Christy Kinney, and of course, she was a go for it girl. And she just let me ask any question I wanted. And it was so helpful because when you have someone who's walked the journey and you know that they're trusting, you're just trusting them, it just makes a big difference. So I had a whole year of her helping me. And then when I finally got out of my treatment, about a year later, it was October of 2005, I got to thinking that there's a lot of women out there that maybe are going to go through breast cancer and don't have someone like Christy to walk them through their own journey. So I went up to her and I said, you know, Christy, would you ever consider starting a support group? And of course, she was more than excited. And so we started it with about 15 women in 2005. We had about 15 women there. And the way that we got the women was kind of word of mouth of people that we knew maybe had been diagnosed. So we started that way. And it was all about emotional support. We decided that if we can help women with all the questions and things they have, that's what we were there for. But in 2013, we figured out there's a lot of women that are struggling with financial help. So we decided that we could maybe become nonprofit. And the way that we did that was some organizations that helped us. Health Source Chiropractic, they said, we're going to do a golf tournament. And all the proceeds went towards our support group. And all the money that we raise is given out to women. We have no other expenses. We give out bags that we buy, but otherwise all the money that we use is gone right to the women to help them in their journey. But we have Health Source helps us in the summer for a golf tournament. And then KXLG Radio, they sponsor what is called a person pour, where I'll bring all these purses in and we can sample some wine and we sell the purses, and that benefits our support group financially. And then something new is Westside Implement. They have started doing a raffle. It's a pink Boss Hog lawnmower. It's a huge lawnmower, and it's just awesome. All of the money raised there. So we've had 3 organizations that have really stepped up and helped us financially, and we could not be more grateful for their help. By doing so, we're able to help women. Now, the only thing that we found out in this past year is pandemic has halted a lot of things, but what we discovered was it did not stop breast cancer from being diagnosed. So we had to do a little bit of different work when it came to helping women. It was a lot of it done over the phone, which isn't near as personable, but it's the way that it was. But I just want to let anyone know our support group meets during the school years once a month. And if you know of anybody at all that is undergoing treatment or struggling with something like that, We would love to hear from you to help you emotionally. If you come to our group, you'll notice that not one question that's asked hasn't been asked by somebody else. So it's just a group of women helping each other. And that's what we're all about. So we just want to let anybody know, if you're interested in joining us or have any questions for us, we have a site on Facebook. It's Watertown Breast Cancer Support Group. And we are more than willing to help anybody who asks. So thank you. Thank you for Prairie Lakes for helping sponsor this with us. And we're just excited to get into our 6th annual. So thanks again. Also, I want to bring you up into one woman who is a member of our support group. And I met this woman. She's going to give her a little testimony. And I met this woman by having coffee with her at a coffee shop. And I thought maybe I could help her a little bit by answering some questions, but it turned out this woman was a total inspiration to me. She helped me out that day more than I ever expected her to. So with that, I would just like to introduce you to Angie Darling, and you'll hear from her now. Thank you.
My name is Angie Darling. I am from Watertown. I've lived most of my life here. I am married. My husband's name is Kevin. We have 3 adult children. My oldest son has 2 sons, so I have 2 adorable grandkids. I have a daughter-in-law, a soon-to-be daughter-in-law, and my youngest son. I was diagnosed in January of 2012. My breast cancer was found with a mammogram and an ultrasound. They then proceeded with a biopsy in Sioux Falls. After the initial testing, my cancer did come back that it was stage 4. It had at that point spread to my bones. So I have been in active treatment since that time. I've been through a lot of treatments, too many to count. Fortunately, I have done very well with my treatments. I've had some bumps along the way, but our goal has always been to get from one treatment to the next that is effective. I'm currently on a new medication that was FDA approved in December. That drug is working very well, and I have very few side effects. A few years ago, I can't remember exactly how many, Kalita Remmers was given my name by someone, and she reached out to me and asked if we could get together and visit. She didn't know my background, so I shared that information with her. She told me about the breast cancer support group, about the regular meetings, that the women involved in the group are very much about supporting each other, however you would like them to, as much as you would like or as little as you would like. And she also offered financial support, which of course when you're going through a cancer diagnosis is huge to have the support. Our community, I believe, is great in supporting all of our area cancer organizations. I did start attending some of the meetings. It's a great bunch of gals. I've been to their events, their fundraisers, and it's just been really nice to have that connection. I had chosen to be quite private up until that point in time, so it was just nice to have someone to reach out to if I felt, that that's what I needed. So I would encourage anyone that knows of someone who's been diagnosed recently or not, that they could definitely reach out to the breast cancer support group.
Sharing Thank you, Angie, for sharing your powerful story. If you would like to get in touch with the support group, please feel free to reach out to them on their Facebook group page, or you can message Prairie Lakes Healthcare System and we can help get you in touch with Kalita and the information that you're looking for. So as a part of the support group's mission to help women with breast cancer and to honor the co-founder Christy Kinney's legacy, they teamed up with our Prairie Lakes Healthcare Foundation to help these breast cancer patients. So here to talk about this partnership is Lisa Dahl, Prairie Lakes Healthcare Foundation Director. Welcome, Lisa. Hello, everyone. I think we're having a few technical difficulties with the audio, so please just bear with us. So, while we're waiting, let's take a look at the book by Nicole. So I'm on chapter 3. And while I've been reading Nicole's book, I have learned a lot because I personally have been on a mission for kindness for quite some time. And when I met Nicole a few weeks ago, I was like, Nicole, what do I do? I feel like I've been trying for so long. I meditate, I do yoga. I'm really trying to be a kind person. So what book would you recommend? She goes, well, everyone's going to benefit from the negativity remedy. And she's right, because I have gained some really, really good tips from this book. And, just reading it, sometimes I'm like, you know what, Nicole's really real in this thing, and I like her a lot. So some good tips in here for sure. Andy, how we doing on the audio? Pretty good? We're good, I think. So let's go back to Lisa. Thanks, everyone. We're still working on the audio, but it's okay because we're going to lead with kindness today. So let's maybe look at some comments. Are there any questions that people have? Let's look at the comments. Thanks, Mary, for letting us know. That is very sweet of you. I really appreciate that. Same thing from Claudia. Oh, hey, there's me talking. And here, Cassie says hello. Hello, Cassie. Yes, thank you. And Cleta Jane says hello. So I think that's all of our comments, but does anyone else have any questions? No. Hi, Nicole.
Oh my gosh, Jen, this is the best virtual presentation I have ever been at, because watching you, I am cracking up because you're so cute and you're like, so how about we talk about Nicole's book? I'm digging this.
This is real life right now. Yes.
It is. This is real life. And you know what? This is what breast cancer survivors go through. It's like, yeah, you think everything in your life is going to be like normal. And then all of a sudden, boom, like, oh, there's a diagnosis. Like, who saw that coming? Not me, right? Do you feel that way about life ever, Jen?
I do. Let's bring Kalita in the mix. Hi, Kalita.
I'm just laughing because you're so good, Jen.
Well, thank you.
She's really good under pressure. I'm kind of digging this, right? Yeah. Hey, I do want to mention, Jen, that when I begin the presentation, if people have questions about kindness or anything that they want to just comment, like, hey, that idea resonates with me, or whatever it might be, I'm giving away 2 copies of the Negativity Remedy to 2 random people in the comments, and Jen will pick winners, right?
I will pick winners.
So comment.
I just finished reading it. It's so well worth the read.
Thank you, Kalita.
Yeah.
Did somebody pay you to say that?
No, I picked it up from the book.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. Right. Give a compliment, a word of encouragement every day. Well, now you've done yours. Thank
A
you.
really nice one from Lisa.
Carlitos did an awesome job. We are fortunate to have a very active breast cancer support group.
I didn't say that either.
Yeah.
Being real, we're in it together. Totally. Well, Jen, do you want me to start the presentation and then?
I think we can. I think we're just going to move forward. And
Let's
that
do it.
would be best. So would you like me to introduce you formally, or would you just like to get to it?
What do you want to do? I'm here. I'm here for you.
Well, perfect. Well, as many of you can see, Nicole is with us today. And Nicole, a couple of years ago, said she was the queen of negativity, until one day she gave a young mom in the mall some money, and it really turned her life around. Nicole is an author of several books, including the one that we've been referencing quite a bit that was released this month, The Negativity Remedy. And she is here to speak with us on kindness. So welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. And I had the opportunity to come to Watertown not too long ago to do a book signing at the bookstore. It was just really, really wonderful. I got to talk on the radio. I got to meet all kinds of people, including Kalita. So that was really neat to be able to really meet this group of women in person. It does feel a little weird to do a presentation on kindness to breast cancer survivors and people in the healthcare industry, because if I've learned anything, it's that those 2 groups of people are inherently kind. And, so I've found I never expected to have a breast cancer diagnosis myself. And so it kind of came at me out of left field. There was no history in my family of breast cancer. But the minute that I was diagnosed, I felt that I was initiated into this sisterhood, and what the other women around me who were going through it and had gone through it ahead of time. Initially, I just joined a Facebook group, but what the women who had walked this path ahead of me said was, someday you are going to have a moxie, a swagger that you never thought you would have, because you're going to know that you can do hard things. And that's how I feel about all of you. So it is such an honor to be here, because it does, every time I talk about being a breast cancer survivor, it does remind me of this great, great kindness that's surrounding me. And of course, all the healthcare people who made my journey just that much more pleasant. So even though you're all very kind, I happen to believe that inside each and every one of us is an inner meanie. So an inner meanie, that would be like the mean person living inside of you, talking into your head sometimes, or saying you should be mad about that, or this is going to annoy us, or that sort of thing. So I'm wondering if any of you happen to have an inner meanie. So by the way, I'm going to tell you, like, comment. I'm not talk to myself. I'm hoping that you're actually there and we can, talk to each other. So I'm going to give away 2 copies of the Negativity Remedy at the end of this night to 2 people who leave comments or ask questions or whatever. So, Sheila says she's looking forward to reading the book. Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate that. Rhonda says, my mom, Kalita, told me I have to read it. I was wondering if she was hinting that I needed to be kinder. Poor Rhonda. No, your mama loves you. It's okay. So let's take a little quiz. Are you ready? Let me show you a picture. Let's say you are driving down the highway and someone who maybe looks like Pink happens to pull out in front of you, but instead of continuing to go, fast and join the rest of the world on the freeway, they just slow back and they're going about 10 miles below the speed limit. Do you just hang back? You tell yourself you'll get there when you get there? Or are you one of those people who kind of just creeps up behind them a little bit and just kind of gets the front of your car closer to the tail of theirs so they know that they're aggravating you and making you late? What do you think? I'm going to pause and look for a few comments to see if anybody says that that's something their inner meanie likes to do. Because the alternative to having that inner meanie come alive in you is to think to yourself instead, well, maybe it's an elderly driver and they really, they know their reflexes aren't great. And so they want to give themselves a little time. Maybe their mind is on something else. So the question being, how do you react to that? So that's question number 1. Are you ready for question number 2? Okay, we're testing your inner meanie. Oh, Terry says he or she hangs back. What's the rush? I like that. Yep. So here's question number 2. You get home from a long day at work and there's laundry to be done, a dishwasher that needs to be unloaded, and supper that needs to be made. And your spouse comes home and proceeds to just plop down on the couch and take 5. Do you stomp around the house, huffing and puffing and, making as much noise unloading the dishes as you can and, throwing the socks from the laundry that needs to be done and, you've got pots and pans going so you can get dinner going and just being loud enough so that the person sitting on the couch knows that you are doing all of this on your own and maybe will notice and then get up and help? Or do you think to yourself, my spouse is a pretty great person and they work really hard, and so I don't want to do this work by myself, but I know that they don't either. So I'm just going to take a moment to get grateful. And then I'm going to gently say, hey, hon, would you mind helping me when you get a minute, when you feel like you've been able to rest for a little bit? Jamie Jensen says she would sit down with him. I've never had anyone say that, Jamie. Or Jane. I've never had anyone say that before. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, right? Like, let it all wait. Go sit down and have a moment with your sweetie. I dig that. That's a good one. Okay, let's talk about the third question on this. Do you have an inner meanie, and how loud is your inner meanie? Let's say you get a condescending email from your boss that is just a little harsher than it needs to be. And maybe it even makes you feel like, well, like, how dumb do you think I am? Yes, of course I took care of this issue. So take a look. If anyone's ever seen Office Space, like this is my favorite scene from Office Space. If you come in on Saturday, yeah, that would be great. And so if anyone has ever had a boss like that, maybe you know what that feels like. So here's the question for your inner meaning. Do you go talk to a coworker after getting that email because that coworker knows exactly what this feels like? And then you can at least, get this off your chest and just have someone to commiserate with. Or do you think to yourself, I have no idea what's going on in my boss's life right now. And I know that I can't control his or her behavior, but I know that I can control mine. And I refuse to let that person's toxic juices spread any further in this office. So what do you think? How do you react to that? Bernard says, great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen Office Space, it's really good. It is. It's interesting because that first scenario on the highway dealt with total strangers. And the second scenario deals with, the people you live with, your family. And the third scenario deals with your work family, those people you go on vacation to get away from because you're with them all the time. So what's the one common denominator in each of those situations? That's the question. What's the one thing that is common in all three of those? You all are really funny, by the way. Terry says, vent to a coworker. Brenda says, pretend like I didn't get the email. There you go. Luke says, just let it go. Besides, I have the coolest boss, so that could never happen. Luke, is your boss watching right now? Because that was good. That was really good. Publicly calling out your boss as being awesome. Well done. Okay, so the question I asked is, what's the one common denominator? And I'm seeing you say now, you. Yes, you, us. We are the one common denominator. And so that's what I'm here to talk about tonight is you. Because regardless of how anyone else behaves, the secret to kindness is this. Kindness isn't about them. It's not about another person. Kindness is about you. It's how you react in any given situation, because you're going to be in a lot of situations with a lot of different people. So we have to know that we are going to be intentional about what we allow into our brains and what we allow to come out of our mouths. Now, I promise you, I am still a work in progress with this, but 10 years ago, I was, as Jen said, the queen of negativity. I was on the edge of what anyone would call an alcoholic. I was a drinker, a smoker, an overeater. I was angry at my husband all the time. He's a basketball coach, so some would think that he'd be a really good shot, like when he takes his socks and he throws them into the hamper, like they would go in the hamper, right? But no, they go next to the hamper. And that used to drive me crazy. Like, why can you not get the laundry in the laundry basket? Why do we have to leave the dirty laundry on the floor? So these were the types of things that really annoyed me and made me very angry, and they compounded day after day. And so I was living in this place where life felt passionless and pointless, except when I was upset about something, and just really mundane. And it was silly because I had 3 beautiful, healthy kids, a wonderful husband. I lived in a nice home. I had everything I could ever have wanted. And yet I didn't have gratitude. And, for me, one day I was at the mall, and there was a woman there who I thought was a really great babysitter. And she was there with watching a little boy who was about 1.5, and my 1.5-year-old was there as well. We were in it was called Dino Land. It's the Playland in the Fargo, North Dakota Mall. And, in the middle of winter, everybody went to the mall. I hope for COVID, I hope COVID stops so that all of the moms who are trapped at home in the wintertime, in the snow, in the Dakotas, can then go to the Playland at the mall, because sometimes it's the only thing that keeps us sane. So that's how I felt that day when I walked into the mall, and I'm sitting there in this beautiful young woman who is all, she's just put together. Like, she actually showered that day, and I hadn't. Well, when I saw her, I said hello, but I was not feeling at my very best. And we had a little conversation. I found out that she was indeed a young single mom. And it was funny because before we left the mall that day, she just made a comment that just made me feel so good. She said, I can tell your kids really love you. And my kids at the time were, 5, 6, and 1.5. And I felt like they didn't even, notice what I was doing for them. And you know what? They didn't, because they were kids. But the fact of the matter is that just because somebody doesn't notice or appreciate doesn't mean that it's not, what you're going to do as a mom. So as a mom, of course, what you want to hear is that your kids really love you. And so that made me feel so good. And then I just wanted to be able to reciprocate, and I just wanted to help her out and make life a little easier for her. So I gave her some money, and, that was it. That was the end of the exchange. But I walked out of the mall that day with this high, unlike anything I had ever felt from any bad decision I had made before. And I thought if everyone knew what this felt like, everyone would want to try it, and kindness would be contagious. And lo and behold, I had been asked by our local newspaper in Fargo to write a weekly column. And I decided that I would write a weekly column on kindness and have people send in their stories of kindness and how it made them feel, or, times when kindness showed up just at the right time for them, whether the giver or the receiver. I wanted to hear it all. And within a year of writing that column and just being intentional in my own life of seeing all the kindness around me and doing acts of kindness intentionally, within 1 year, I had totally quit drinking. I had quit smoking. I had lost 30 pounds, and I had re-fallen in love with my husband. Now, he still left his socks next to the dirty laundry hamper. But when your heart's full of gratitude and you're looking at a situation a little bit differently, some of those things just don't matter. So what happened? What happened in that moment? I'll tell you. I stopped seeing the black dot. Take a look at what a professor showed to his class. Huge assembly hall. He shows this picture and he asks each of the students to write down what they see. Now, I'll ask you right now, what do you see? You see the black dot? You see an entrance into an ulterior universe? Maybe it's a black hole. Maybe it's not black to you. Maybe on your screen, it's navy or brown. Maybe that's what you're focusing on. Maybe it looks like something you'd see at an eye doctor, when you're getting your eyes tested. Well, the professor collected those papers and he started to read them one after another. And every single one of those students wrote about the black dot. In a various form, some were more creative than others, but yep, a black dot. And I see that Brenda says, yepers, black dot, that's what she sees. Sheila says, a hole. I see a hole. Thank you for sharing that, what you see, because that's what a lot of people see. And that's what I used to see until I really became intentional about kindness. And then I realized, just like the professor told his class, there is something else on that page. And it's the white space. The black dot's still there, but the white space also exists. And that's really the truth in our lives as well. When I say I stopped seeing the black dot, the black dot are all of those things in our lives that threaten to steal our happiness. It's the cancer diagnosis. It's the, too much month with not enough money left. It's the fight with a spouse. It's the disconnected relationship with a friend. It can be anything. Do you have them in your life? I'm certain you do. Feel free to share what some of those black dots are in your life if you'd like to. I'd love to hear from you. But also in your life is the white space. And the white space is the place where kindness and creativity and love and gratitude and all of those things exist. So yes, there's nothing I can say today to take away the black dot, right? But I'm hoping to add a little more white space into your life as well. So I do want to hear from you about what some of the white space is in your lives as well. Because it is, It's snuggling, when I get home and from a trip and my kids are all like, Mom, they were actually excited to see me walk in the door. Like, that's my white space. I love that. I'll go away just so I can come home and get that kind of reception. It's awesome. My white space is snuggling up with my dog. I have a 70-pound golden doodle who just loves to be loved. And so that's my white space. What's your white space? Because it exists. So the idea is to try and minimize that black dot and really focus on the white space on that page in our lives as well. So how do we get to the point where we acknowledge the black dot without letting it steal more than its fair share of our thoughts in our day? Here you go. This is, by the way, the most important thing I am going to say this entire time. Here it is. Think about what you're thinking about. That's it. Think about what you're thinking about. Now tell me in the comments, if you would, like, what do you think about on a regular basis? So comment in, what do you find yourself thinking about? What rolls through your head on a daily basis? But I want to pop back to these comments a little bit and see what people said was their black dot or their white space. So Donna says, on day 15 of COVID isolation, and only the black dot left. 95% better. Prayers have helped me fill the white space with rest and with feeling better. Yes. And Sherry says, joy, family, nature, sunny and 70 degrees, a bike ride. Those are things that are in Sherry's white space. That's beautiful. Lila says, getting together with friends and her coffee group. Those are her white spaces. That's neat. Brenda says, family, friends, the Holy Spirit, joy at the lake home. Oh, I have joy at a lake home too. That would be nice. I want to live in your white space a little bit. Fun. And so much more. That's her white space. She's thinking about gratitude, right? Gratitude is definitely the white space. Sarah from my kindness team says her white space is nature and sunshine. And the one thing Sarah left is that she also loves to be around people and cook. Those are all her white spaces. Sheila says family is a white space. Tammy says finances. So I'm guessing, Tammy, that you're like most of the world and that finances are part of the black dot and not the white space. But if finances are your white space, then congratulations, you're doing something right. Let's see, Mary. Okay, so now I was looking to see through these comments. Okay, so Terry says, being part of a group that makes fleece blankets for kids in the hospital. It's called Project Warm Hugs. Isn't that sweet? And that's part of her white space. So yes, volunteering, giving of yourselves, getting your eyes off of yourselves and onto others. Cassie, hey, Cassie's my Aberdeen girl. Hey, Cassie. She says, my girls, my granddaughter, my dogs, my students, my mom, my friends, my family, so blessed, so blessed. And, Cassie's going through cancer. So that black dot's there and she knows it and it shows up every single day for her and she chooses to see the white space. So that's pretty cool. Amanda Kennedy says, reading a good book is part of her white space. So that's cool. So we know the black dot, we know the white space. So we say, okay, I'm going to think about what I'm thinking about. And when you catch yourself in thinking about what you're thinking about, we generally find that they fall into 3 categories. And they are hurry, worry, and jury. Hurry, worry, and jury. And hurry in our mind is like that constant to-do list. And I don't know if you're a mom or a grandmother, or you have that sort of to-do list in your mind that's, I got to remember to send that birthday card out, and I was supposed to pick up another gallon of milk, and I need to do this, and I've got to make sure I take this child there, and I have an appointment, I've got to get to that and make sure that this person has a ride because I offered to help them with something. It's that to-do list that's constantly going in your mind and distracting you from seeing and experiencing what's really happening around you. And then the second thing is, hold on, we got to celebrate with Cassie. Whoop, whoop. Cassie says, I'm done Last radiation was Friday and I won. Hey, Cassie, you won before you even began fighting. I got to tell you, you were a survivor from the moment they said the words breast cancer. So yes, you won. You are done. Oh, I'm so happy for you. That makes me feel so great. It's a celebration for you. So we're talking about hurry, worry, and jury. We know what the hurry is in our mind. The worry. Did you ever feel any of that? There we go. Now we're back to the black dots, right? We're worried about our health. We're worried about our family. We're worried about our kids. We're worried about, what's going to happen if I get COVID. We're worried about, what's going to happen if this person gets COVID. We're worried about a shooting happening at our school. I mean, anything you could possibly think of in the news, and then start, kind of circling it around in your brain. That's your worry, right? So hurry, worry, and then jury. And jury was something I was pretty good at. It's this idea that we declare ourselves, we appoint ourselves as the judge and jury over ourselves and everyone around us, right? Ourselves and everybody else around us. And we can never measure up, and neither can anybody else. And so maybe for you, that sounds like getting out of the shower and, looking at yourself in the mirror and being, ugh, this is what you've done to yourself. This is what you look like now. Great. Or maybe, you go to the gym and you think to yourself, why do I even bother doing this or going for a run? Because I know that I'm just not going to be able to say no to that chocolate chip cookie or that cake later. Or maybe you look at somebody else and you think, why is she so snippy with her kids? Or, gosh, that skirt's awfully short. Right? Have you ever been there? Have you ever done that? Or is it just me? I hope it's not just me. So hurry, worry, and jury. What do we do? What do we do when we think about what we're thinking about and we realize we're in the hurry, worry, and jury? We reject and we replace. This idea of rejecting and replacing our thoughts means that you acknowledge the fact that the thought that just zoomed into your brain is one that is not going to leave you with a positive feeling. So you don't want to park your brain in a spot that is going to start bringing you down emotionally, right? And thoughts can do that so quickly. They have such an effect on our emotions. And so instead we reject and replace. And I started doing this again 10 years ago. And when a thought would come into my brain that I knew wasn't serving me well, I would say, I reject that thought. Literally out loud to myself, I reject that thought. But that's not enough, at least for me, to be able to move myself away from this hypothetical conversation in my head and move to a healthier spot. So I had to have a replacement thought. My replacement thought was a piece of paper I kept in my pocket and carried it with me everywhere I went. And on it were 9 words that I was trying to memorize. They were love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, these are from Galatians 5:22-23 in the Bible, because faith is important to me. But regardless of where you and I are the same or different, it doesn't matter. Just find a mantra, find a quote, find a scripture, find anything that means something to you, write it down and put it in your pocket. And then when you need to reject those thoughts, when those thoughts come in, you can say, I reject that thought, and then you can replace it with your newly found mantra, your thought that you're waiting, that is waiting for you in your pocket. Because once you go through all the rigmarole of saying those words or what your mantra is or your favorite quote, generally you've moved your mind away from that negative spot and you're ready just to carry on with your day, right? So why is retraining our brain so important? Because it gives us more joy in the day-to-day stuff, right? But because it also helps us in the big stuff. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I turned 40. Every year I went to the doctor on my 40th birthday, or on my birthday rather, because then I knew that insurance would pay for it. So I was really, every year, May 7th. And so 5 years ago, 2015, on May 7th, I went to the doctor, and the doctor and I were we're just joking around, and she kind of said, hey, I think we should do a baseline mammogram for you now that you're 40. We'll have it in your chart. And I said, yeah, sure, fine with me. And so then she starts doing the office exam, and she feels something on the left side of my left breast. And she says, have you felt this before? And I kind of reach over and I'm like, yeah, probably, I have really lumpy breasts. I don't know, I'm sure it's nothing. And she thought for a moment and she said, I think I'd like to do a diagnostic mammogram instead. And let's just take a look at it and see. Well, I wasn't super worried about it because there was no history of breast cancer in my family. But we went through right there, then and there, we went to the diagnostic mammogram, and then an ultrasound, and then I think it was an MRI, and then we did the biopsy, which, ladies, that's the worst experience ever, right? Can I get an amen to that? Like, oh, painful, so painful, and scary. I often tell people, to me, like, the hardest part of breast cancer for me was all of the waiting to figure out what was coming next. Now, Kalita's sitting in kind of backstage. I wanted to bring Kalita back in as a breast cancer survivor because, Kalita is so good about saying, there's not a question that you could ask that somebody else didn't already have. Right, Kalita? Like,
that's exactly right.
Yeah. And so you said that to me, even when we went to lunch the other day in Watertown, and I had said to you something to the effect of, I felt bad because it turns out, had stage 2 lobular carcinoma. And so what I ended up doing was a mastectomy on my left breast with immediate reconstruction, but I didn't have to have chemo and I didn't have to have radiation. And Kalita, it made me feel bad for a long, long time that I didn't have to go through what so many other women went through. And I feel like
some people in our group say the same thing. But I say to them, did somebody say to you, you have cancer? And they say yes. And I said, you're in the same boat. Just didn't have to experience some of this bad stuff. You still experienced it. Yeah,
right. Right. And we lose some sisters as well, and we don't ever want that to happen either. And so it's, everybody can look at somebody else and say, oh, we have survivor's guilt. Did you ever feel that way, Kalita?
Well, when you're all done with everything, then you realize that I maybe had it better than some people. Mm-hmm. I never even had a PET scan, but I had the chemo and I didn't have radiation. Well, my sister had both, so it still is. I was just meeting with a woman today and she said, the biggest thing I had to deal with was the fear. Mm-hmm. And I said, because those of us that are diagnosed, when we hear the word cancer, we think of death. And I'm sorry, that's what goes through your head first.
Yeah.
So, and we're not quite ready for that at the time. We always have a reason. I was expecting my first grandbaby. So, I just needed that. But everyone has a reason.
A reason to live, or a reason that they think of?
A reason to live. Mm. But we all think about what could happen.
Right. And an interesting part of your story is that you actually have a twin sister. So how far apart were you diagnosed? I forget.
4 years. She was 4 years old. We are identical.
Okay. Isn't that something? Wow. So Kalita, was there anything that I had talked about so far? I'm gonna, I still have stuff to say, but is there anything so far with the black dot or the white space or anything that's resonated with you? Or I don't know if you've seen in the comments anything people have said that they've asked questions or anything like that. Is there anything that resonated with you though in what I've said so far?
No, but I think when you talk about the black dot, when you're diagnosed, that's priority. All you see is the black dot.
Oh yeah.
Once you're through treatment, the white comes in very clear. Mm-hmm. All the thankfulness you have, the friends you've met along the way, all of that becomes part of the white stuff.
Yes. And I'm certainly not saying to people, hide your head in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist. No, no, please don't do that. You have to feel all of the feels, right? You really do.
You go through all the emotions.
Yes, yes.
You know, my doctor said it's kind of like going through grief because you have the stages. You're angry, and then you're sad, and then you're at a point you might be glad.
Right.
You know.
Right. I definitely was grateful that I had changed my mindset, that I had reworked how my brain saw things before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, because I think it would have been a much different journey for me if I would have been in that depressed place that I was, several years earlier. But even so, there were times, Kalita, that I would go into the bathroom and turn on the shower and turn on the fan because I'm a mom, right? And so you want to just go to the one place where nobody can get to you, nobody can hear you. And then I would sob. I would just cry. Did you have those moments?
I had those moments, and when they happened, a lot of times I was on the phone with my daughter, and then she would turn right around and call my friend, and within minutes they were at my house. So, because you know what else we did? We protected our husbands. We didn't do that in front of them. Like you said, you want to do that privately, but with your girlfriends, you can be real.
Right.
Because their husbands can't fix you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I ended
up girlfriends.
Yep. I ended up having drains that came after the mastectomy. And then when I had to do the swap surgery and for reconstruction, I had drains again. And all I said to my girlfriends was, do you know of like an in-home doctor or nurse or somebody that I could like maybe hire to come and clean those drains? Because I do not want my husband's man hands on these drains. Like, ow, it just, just the thought of it was painful. And two of my girlfriends said, we will come. And so they took turns, and one came every morning and one came every night. And they came for like 10 days each time. And they just took care of me. So you're right. It's very special. And sometimes it's really hard for us to accept the kindness of others. And I talk a lot in the negativity remedy about accepting the kindness of others. What advice do you have for breast cancer survivors, Kalita, when it comes to accepting the help?
Well, I just talked about this with a woman today. I said, if you don't accept their kindness, you're taking the joy away from them. Mm-hmm. So you have to remember that that's one thing they can do to help you.
Yeah.
So it is. It's important, not just for you, but as women, we're the caregivers. So it's hard for us.
Right.
But there is a time where you just say, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the negativity remedy, I talk about sometimes that people don't know they want to be a part of our journey. They want to be part of our healing, but they don't know how to do that. So they want to bake something for us or make something for our freezer. And when we say no, we're blocking them off from being a part of that healing. If they want to pick up our kids or do those sorts of things, like the answer should always be yes, especially if you are in the middle of treatment. It should be yes anyway, because sometimes people reach out and offer to help just to get out of their own heads for the day. But yeah, I think the answer should always be yes. What are your thoughts on thank you notes during treatment and cancer and things like that? Because sometimes people don't want to accept kindness because they feel like I could never repay this person and I'm just too tired to even write thank you notes. What do you think?
I enjoyed that part of it because it kept my head out of the other stuff. I like to keep my mind busy. So it was the thing. But I understand in your book you talked about some that, I don't have the energy for that. And I don't think anybody expects it during that time. If I wrote a thank you note, it was totally unexpected. Mm-hmm. But it kept me, you have to keep your mind busy during that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And I felt like I can't do it. Like I just can't give anything else. Like I can't sit down and write another thank you note or whatever, and finally somebody said, you don't need to write a thank you note for having cancer. Like it's fine. Let it go. And so I did.
They don't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's take the more that you accepted their kindness, the better you felt also. But It took some time to get used to it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially when people are giving you money, like that becomes really touchy and personal. But yet, I was very grateful too. So let's take a look at some of these comments. Katie Rasmus says, I agree. The white space shows through after treatments. And that's just what you said, Kalita. Like it is, it's like that black dot. And then all of a sudden, you know, as you go through it and you get more comfortable with this diagnosis and what's happening with your treatments, I think that you see more and more and more of I had a favorite nurse, you know, sometimes I got to go out to dinner at a restaurant with my girlfriends because they took me to an appointment, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right?
No, it comes back to my favorite nurse for my mastectomy.
Yeah.
I just met with her yesterday, who just went through breast cancer. And I said to her, I mean, you know, it kind of comes around, doesn't it? You know, it's just a different experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Lila says, I agree with Kalita, taking away their joy. Yeah. Yeah. And kindness works as a trifecta. So the giver, the receiver, and the witness all benefit from the 4 feel-good chemicals that flow into our body when we're a part of an act of kindness. So you don't have to just be the giver. You don't have to just be the receiver. The giver, the receiver, and the witness all benefit from those great feel-good chemicals. So we want to make sure that we are, you know, thinking about those acts of kindness, sharing those acts of kindness, and allowing them to happen and not just stifling them right in the middle of it. So Donna Vandepol says, my son was 10 when I found out I had cancer. He told me, Mom, it means you're going to die, doesn't it? I said, no, it means we deal with that black spot and we are going to win. Then I got a hold of Kalita and others at the school. They helped my son know that we would win. I had 3 surgeries, no chemo, no radiation, and I'm almost 12 years out. So, you know, Donna, Kalita, you know, Donna.
She's a part of the support group.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to end on this comment here. Kalita, Danita says, this is Danita. Do you know anyone named Danita?
I might.
This is Danita, Kalita's twin sister. Couldn't have gone through what I did without her. Beautiful. Really beautiful. All right. Well, Kalita, you can go backstage again. Thank you for jumping in and talking with me. And I'm gonna tell a story that to me, you know, kind of helped me through my breast cancer and how kindness really was my saving grace during that time 5 years ago, because between getting that first initial diagnosis and all of the tests, and then whatever your surgery or treatment or whatever that's going to be, you know, there's a lot of open hours in there, right? There's a lot of space for too many mind games to happen. And so I knew, after having been really intentional for, you know, at that point, 5 years about kindness, I knew that when I felt that way, when my brain started to sit in the pity party, I had to get my eyes off of myself and put them onto someone else. And I, as many of you, I'm sure, like, you don't have extra anything, right? You feel depleted. So how are you possibly going to go do an act of kindness? But on those days when I felt that way, you know, I would go to maybe just the gas station even. And one time I bought a 2-liter of Mountain Dew for a woman who was living down the hill from me. She was a neighbor, and she lived in a little cottage, and you know, means were very tight for them. And but I knew that this woman loved Mountain Dew. And so I went to the gas station. I bought a 2-liter Mountain Dew, and I walked up to her front door, and I hadn't talked to her very often, but I knew that she was the grandmother of 4 grandchildren who were living with her, and she was raising them herself. And I knew that much, and I had seen her drinking Mountain Dew before, so I knew that as well. So I go up with this 2-liter, feeling terrible, right? And I knock on the door. She opens the door, and I'm like, here. She looks at me and she's like, what is this for? And I was like, I just wanted you to have this today. And, you know, and then I turn around and I walk back, and I could feel my whole energy change. It was like I was so depleted, and then all of a sudden it came back out again. And it was like my cup was back to overflowing. But, that might've helped me that day. But then there are the other days, those days when you really feel like I can't even get out of bed. And, I remember one of those days as well. I woke up and it was 4:30 in the morning and it was storming outside. It was terribly stormy outside, but it was also stormy in my mind. It was like this dark gray cloud that just felt like, weighing down on me. And as I'm laying there at 4:30 in the morning, I'm thinking to myself about all the things that could go wrong and how much worse this story could get before it got better, if it got better. And I look out the window and I look at the storm. And for some reason, I think about my neighbor, that same neighbor who lived down the hill from me. She had a woman living on her front lawn in a tent. And this woman in the tent was a recovering drug addict. And she had gone through a treatment program and was working very hard to be able to stay sober. And so she didn't have enough money at that point to be able to rent a home or an apartment, a place to stay. So she camped out in my neighbor's yard. And every morning at 4:30 in the morning, she would get up and she would walk several miles across town to get to her job at the dry cleaner. I'm laying there in bed. It's so early in the morning. It is storming. And I think, I wonder if she's walking to work right now. And as I'm thinking it, I got angry. And I thought, no, this is not my responsibility. I don't care if I do love kindness. I am depleted. I have nothing left to give. I have been drained financially from this breast cancer. Physically, emotionally, I have nothing left. And I just got mad. So instead of getting out of bed and going to get her or hiring her a taxi or whatever I would have done, I rolled over and I went back to sleep. And I woke up later in the day and I still had that dark cloud over my head. Well, I was out driving later that day, and wouldn't you know, I saw this woman. Her name was Dawn. And I saw Dawn walking down the street, and I pulled over and I said, "Hey, Dawn, do you need a ride home?" And she said, "No, it's beautiful. I'll walk." I said, "Yeah, it is beautiful. It wasn't beautiful at 4:30 this morning, though." I said, "Are you still walking to work?" And as I said it, I wanted to gather those words and throw them back into my mouth because I didn't want to bring it up, because I didn't want to commit to something that was going to drain me even further. And so I said it, and she said, "Yes, I am, but I am saving up for a bike. And I think by the time I get my next paycheck, I will have enough money to buy a bike." And I kind of stopped and I looked at her and I said, "Wait a minute, you need a bike?" I have a bike. I have an extra bike. It's in my garage. Come look at it and you can take it. And so later that afternoon, she came over and I wheeled the bike down the driveway for her. And now maybe I should tell you that Dawn is very self-conscious. And so you could just tell she had been beaten down by the world. And so, she kind of had hunched over shoulders and her hair was kind of in her face, and she would kind of look at the ground a lot and didn't smile, hardly ever. And, but she came up and she looked at the bike and she said, "Wow, this is great. Thank you. This will help a lot. And then I'll bring it back to you as soon as I can afford a bike." And I said, "No. You can have the bike. It's a gift. Take it. It's an extra. We're not using it. Please take it." And she said, "Why would you do that for me?" And in that moment, I thought, wow, have you had so few people show you kindness that it's almost scary to you and confusing? And I just said to her, I just want you to know that I see you. And I'm sure that it has to be hard to wake up every day and do the next right thing. And, I see you trying so hard to stay clean. And I just want to tell you, I notice you and I'm proud of you. And she gave me a big hug and she got on the bike and she rode away. And as I turned to walk back up my driveway, there was no cancer in my body. There was only this great feeling of peace and this great feeling of having the ability to make someone's day better, but knowing that it was going to make my day better too. And so if you are in the middle of your treatment, and if you are feeling depleted, and you say, oh, I do kind things all the time, and it's sucking the life out of me. Friend, that is not kindness. Kindness will never take from you more than you can give. That might be a duty. That might be an obligation, something that you've put in your brain that you need to do. Might be on your to-do list, but it's not kindness, because kindness refills you. The life you transform with kindness is your own. I want to help you to build that bridge and make the connection between living life and loving life, regardless of what the black dots in your life are. And so, because I care about you so much, I'm going to give you homework, right? Isn't that what teachers do because they love us so much? We'll ask Cassie. Cassie's a teacher. Cassie, do you give homework to your students because you love them? I don't know. She teaches littler ones, I think. So I am going to give you homework. All right. So take a look at what your homework is. Are you ready? Here we go. Set an alarm to think about what you're thinking about. That is your first piece of homework. So go on your phone, set an alarm for, I don't know, Thursdays at 3 p.m. and write in there, think about what you're thinking about, and really become conscious of those thoughts and whether or not they're serving you and whether or not it's something that you really want to allow into your brain that's going to continue to lift you up. Okay. The second is to be like Jen and Kalita and read the negativity remedy, right? And here's the third. Then let's connect, because I want to be one of your cheerleaders. I want to know that, if you read the book and you have a question about it, I want to help you through that question. If you read the book and you decide, I am trying to live in the white space right now, but Nicole, this is hard. I have a kindness team that the four of us are dedicated to teaching the world about the transformative power of kindness. And really a lot of that starts in our minds. So we want to be there with you. So I hope that you'll connect with us and allow that to happen. But you are the negativity remedy. Each one of you, the way that you reach out and love other people and love other survivors really is bringing so much light into this world. And I want to thank you for that. So we'll go back and bring Jen back, and Jen can tell us if she's going to pick some winners for the book. By the way, I love your flowers behind you, Jen. They're so pretty. Yeah.
Thank you. They're fake.
Hey, it's the only thing
pink
about you, right? Everything else about you is so authentic. You can have a few fake flowers in the background. It's okay.
But my team did get me these real flowers today. You can see them. They're so sweet, and they're pink.
Oh.
Yes. So we have a great team here at Prairie Lakes. Yeah. So thank you, Nicole, for your great presentation, for everyone commenting in. We can go through the comments here shortly after we wrap up, and we'll pick a couple winners if that works for everybody. Did we want to take any more questions, Nicole?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's give people, there's a little bit of a lag time between what I'm saying and people commenting. So let's definitely take a moment and say, is there anything you want to say? Is there any question you have? Is there anything I said that wasn't clear that you want me to talk more about, or, something that resonated with you that you want to share? And these comments count toward winning a book. So if you've not commented yet, feel free to tell us something. We would love to. And then you're just automatically entered to win a book. Isn't that cool?
Yes, lots of fun. So while we wait for a few comments to see if there are any questions, I can just let everyone know that we have a few doctors here at Prairie Lakes that are willing to answer some generic breast cancer questions this month, because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to send us a message, a private Facebook message. or email us at info@prairielakes.com, and we'll get those questions to them by next Wednesday, October 21st. So a couple of rules, just please try to keep your questions two questions that are more generic and not specific to an individual scenario. So you could ask things like, what causes breast cancer, or what does modern treatment look like? More generic questions like that. And then once we get all those questions in, we'll get them to the good doctors, and they will answer those questions on our blog. So it does look like we have a few comments coming in.
Kathy, okay. Brenda says, you want to read that? Do you see it?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Nicole, for your wonderful presentation. The world would be a better place if everyone on here would extend kindness to even just one person.
That is right. Just one. Because, changing the world in a grand scope starts, with being able to change just yourself and your home and your workplace, and little by little letting your light shine, that light of kindness shine. Looks like Kathy wants to see the homework again. Okay, Kathy, you got it. The homework is to set an alarm to think about what you're thinking about. So again, I have an iPhone. So on my phone, I can just put in an alarm, and I can say on Thursday at 3:00, think about what I'm thinking about. And then there's a repeat button. So you can just repeat it weekly forever, right? If you're an overachiever, you can put it in there for every single day. And every day at 3:00, you can think about what you're thinking about. But that really helps us to know, are my thoughts in that hurry, worry, jury? Am I supposed to be rejecting and replacing thoughts that aren't serving me? So please set an alarm to think about what you're thinking about. Then read the negativity remedy, and then let's connect. Those are your bits of homework.
That's great. I have an alarm like that, and mine goes off every Monday morning.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so very helpful.
Is it for gratitude, or is it for thinking for thoughts, or what's it for?
It's a little bit of both. I have a mantra that I kind of like to live by. So yeah.
Is that in there? Or do you want to share it with us?
It's kind of long. That's why I have it saved in my phone, so I don't have to memorize it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Perfect. Yes.
Let's be real.
I know. Yeah. Why put a piece of paper in your pocket with your special words when you can just have the mantra on your phone and you can look at it? That works too, Jen. Whatever works for you.
Well, we have lots of thank yous coming in. Sandra and Lisa. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here and giving us a piece of your evening tonight. This was really neat. And I'm so grateful for Kalita and the Watertown Breast Cancer Support Group, and for Prairie Lakes Healthcare System. Just what a great combination. What a great team you all have together to help women who are walking this. So thank you.
Yeah, let's bring Kalita in here for a second.
I was fine backstage.
Yeah.
You made a comment here when you talked about the flowers, fake flowers. I said, that's okay, I have a fake boob. So I was
Come on. Yeah.
I love it.
We could show everyone our fakeness, but that's a different show. And so I kind of think we should just stick with this kindness stuff instead. Kalita keeping it real. I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining in. We'll post the winner of the Negativity Remedy books here in just a few moments. Have a great evening.
And this will be available, Jen, to watch, right?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Yep. So Nicole was very kind and said that we're more than welcome to keep this on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll also embed it at prairielakes.com as well for people to watch. So if you know someone that wasn't able to join us live, please share it to your pages, because they'll be able to watch this whenever they're able to this month. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for all you do. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
All right. Have a great night.